Harvey Weinstein, the king of film producers. That is until we found out he didn't know what a nanosquare was. It may seem like common knowledge not to trade sex for jobs to most people, but Harvey Weinstein's not most people. Harvey Weinstein was a producer for many films, such as Gangs of New York, Shakespeare in Love, and Black Christmas, a movie that probably should have been canceled with him.
Boo! Boo! Boo!
But besides that point, Harvey Weinstein is not the first nor last man to ever sexually assault a woman. According to RAINN, an organization devoted to statistics of sexual assault, 1 in every 6 women who have been sexually assaulted, and most of the perpetrators have been men. So what are we supposed to believe? Men are just animals vying for sexual gratification, that they see nothing into women other than that? No. No. Harvey Weinstein is just the prime example of a bigger issue: objectification of women and a growth. According to a study done by Ian H. Robertson, power played a big role in people's brains. It caused them to feel more confident, to feel more stronger, but it also caused them to be more selfish and egotistical, and also caused them to see people as more of ends to a means for them, objects for them. So could that not have played a big part in Harvey Weinstein's decision to feel that women that were in the Hollywood acting business were less human, but more object for his means? What can they do for him? You hear that in very many powerful situations. CEOs are always like, what are you going to do for me? In rich areas, they're always like, what are you going to do for me? I scratch your back, you scratch mine. It's not about the humanity of caring about other people. It's about what you can do for me. Objectification is directly instilled in power. The objectification of women is looking at them in a light of they're an object. They're an object for the means to us, for predominantly men, to see them as nothing more than sex objects, nothing more than pleasure. And I mean, if you look at ads, they're always in very risque clothing, obviously, but they are very almost childlike. I mean, it's sick, of course, it's disgusting, but they are seen as beneath you. It's like, oh, they need to be helped or saved or rescued or touched, or like they're in like this very vulnerable situation, and that is what is supposed to be arousing. That's what's supposed to get the gratification. But think about it, it's not because it's sexy. I mean, what is sexy? It's because it's a power. Having a vulnerable person that needs saving, that's a power. you know the damsel in distress has been a very big prominent thing in the culture of objectification of women. Women being something of, dare I say, calling you daddy. Daddy is a term of superiority, of authority, of power. A father has power. It's sick, it's gross, but it is a term used for that. And that is what power and objectification kind of have in common. That's what and why Harvey Weinstein and many men like him in his position have sexually assaulted, because they're men in power. They have the power to do things. They have the power to touch people and do these things and get away with it because they have titles. They're producers, they're actors, they're directors, they're presidents, or they're kings, or whatever they are. And they're men, and we know that's a common control thing in all societies. And so women get the brunt of that. And that is sad but true. And that's what Harvey Weinstein has done. He's the product of a very old, not just American culture, but of a male culture. He's the product of men believing that because they are men, they have to be strong and in authority, and they have to get women into bed because it gives them pleasure, because they have power. And women are nothing more than a power game. Women are nothing more than a conquest to do. According to Robin Tran of Everyday Feminism, there are at least 4 ways that our culture teaches men to objectificate women. The first being the media, advertisements, television shows, how women are just seen as a means to an end for pleasure, as stated before. The second is gender roles. Men are seen as the breadwinners, women are seen as the women who take care of kids, mothers. They're seen as people to stay in the kitchen. They're seen as something to really help the man, guide him and not tempt him off his way. The third is heteronormativity. It's a big word. It means that heterosexualness is the predominant pursued thing in our culture, believing that a man has to be with a woman and a woman has to be with a man, just believing that men have to be strong or tough or macho or toxically masculine in order to be real men, and women have to be feminine or less masculine and less pursued or less strong or confident because they're women and they're supposed to want the man and let him chase her, let him have this thing that kind of goes back to gender roles. And the last and final is that men believe that women are their possessions, that when you're in a relationship, it's not necessarily a partnership, it's more of the man's woman is his. This is his woman. He'll fight a man for her if he has to prove himself, kind of like that animalistic caveman culture. Harvey Weinstein should have been canceled because he's just a product of our big issue: objectification of women and a power dynamic that is way too off balance. If we can teach our men to be better people instead of teaching them to be masculine and to be tough and to feel that they have to conquest as many women as they have to, maybe in the future, people like Harvey Weinstein won't have to exist.